Hey guys, welcome back. Back from my break. Had to do another re-upload. As you can see, I'm a little bit rusty. First one, no audio, which was always great to see. So we're back with another in-depth character review. This time we're looking at one of the new characters, Scarlet Witch. So without further ado, we'll just hook straight back into it. 6 health, medium mover, size 2, threat 5, which that's big. 3, 4, 4 for defense. We got Hex Bolt, which is range 4, 6 dice, 0 cost, so it's a builder. It builds power, and this is where it gets crazy. For every skull, she has Chaos Magic, where she can apply a bleed, hex, incinerate, or poison. And if you roll 4 skulls, you can apply all 4, which is pretty crazy. She has Cruel Twist, which is range 3, 8 dice, 6 power, that's a lot, but this actually feels like a 6 power attack. So criticals don't count as success and they don't add dice, so that's big. On top of that, you have Reality Contortion, which is on a skull. You can pierce, which is nuts. So not only do crits don't count, skulls pierce, so you can really push through some big damage with this. If you get some rerolls behind it, possibly a Shuri sitting there, this can get pretty crazy. You could really just delete a character with this. She has the second best throw in the game, power 3, size 4, within 3, throw up medium. It is terrain feature only, which is totally fine. I'd still say it's the second best one, behind Magneto, and then these two can get paired together because she's going to be in Brotherhood, so you really got to watch out for Brotherhood now. I think Brace is probably going to be a serious contention for cards to bring in for your restricted cards. We have Curse, which applies Judgment. Judgment is when you are damaged by an enemy effect, you don't gain power. So it's really can be brutal. If you get an early Judgment onto the right character, you can then pile in on them and remove them, daze them, and then they don't have any power to do anything with it next turn, so there's no slapback coming your way. We have the Chosen of Chthon, I think it is. When attacking, defending, or dodging, you add skulls as success. Huge. Her dice consistency is massive, right? Extra hit and extra block on all attacks is just going to really throw the dice math out the window. And then we have a Hex Field, where when you're performing the shake within 3, you can't remove Hex, Judgment, and Poison. All three of these are absolutely brutal conditions. And to top it off, we've got Flight. So what's to complain about there? Nothing. The model looks really good, apparently. So if you're into that kind of stuff, sorry, I got really itchy nose. If you're into that kind of stuff, apparently it's going to be a really cool model to paint. So, yeah, something to look forward to. She's going to be absolutely monstrous for the meta when she does come in. So hooking into our main content here, so our character, I'm trying to stick to the same format. Scarlet Witch. We have things she's strong against, things she's weak against, things she synergizes with, and special mentions, okay? The things that she's strong against, any of the characters that count blanks as success for their physical or their energy attacks are going to absolutely hate seeing her across. She's got really consistent dice because she counts skulls in success. Get some rerolls behind her, and she can really start to remove some of these big characters like Black Panther. Okoye, the most popular 2-pointer in the game, basically is in every single roster that ever is. She can also be an absolute pest. Scarlet Witch will be able to just slap her off the board at will. We have Thanos. She's going to be great against Thanos because she counts skulls in success. She'll be able to do a lot of burst damage, which is generally how you're going to remove Thanos. You don't really remove him from chip damage because he has too much health. You got to do it, and you got to do it in a couple of attacks. You also have Judgment, which is going to be handy. So putting a Judge onto Thanos if he happens to damage you for some reason can be really great because then you can pile in on him even more and throw all your characters at him and not worry about dealing with the 10 power Thanos the next turn. MODOK. She's actually one of the best characters that's going to be great. She's going to be really strong against MODOK. Because of the skulls of success, it counteracts his blanks, his wilds being changed to blank, so her dice math becomes normal. To top this off, all of her special effects get applied from skulls. Sorry about that. All of her special effects get applied from skulls, which is huge. So you can really apply a lot of special conditions to MODOK, namely Incinerate and Judgment will be the first two I'll be hitting him with. Remove his defense dice so he can't reroll. Hit him with a Hex so he can't roll in crits, so he can't do the big massive burst damage that MODOK is renowned for. And if you can top it off, bang a Judgment on there, you're good to go. And lastly, Angela. Angela, you can't modify your dice against, so generally what you roll is what you get. So having more successes on her attack dice is going to be beneficial when trying to remove Angela. She won't be as good as someone like Corvus Glaive or Loki, who can count Blaine's success, but I think she's a close second there, so that's good to hear. And she's got range 4 on it, so she can really get Angela from where Angela thinks she might be safe. Weak against. I'm actually throwing in Mr. Sinister here, because he's actually going to be really, really, really tanky. He can throw away his, whatever, genetic tokens, I think it's called, to remove a damage that he's about to receive. So, and there's no minimum on that. So he can actually take the burst damage quite well. He's got decent defense as well. So he's going to be interesting to see there. He is Mystic in attack and she is good against that. But I think he's just going to be a character that's going to be able to hang around and hang with her for longer than she wants. So I think he'll win the trade-off battle when they do have a fight. Medusa, it's going to be exceptional against Scarlet Witch. Flurries on her standard attack. It's all physical. Physical is her worst defense. As you saw, she's 3/4/4. So hitting physical against her is basically going to be the #1 way of removing her. So, or, you know, throws or things like that. So really going for her and doubling down, as you can see, on all of this physical attacks, especially physical attacks that can do really interesting effects like Flurry, will be a really great, sure way of removing her. Medusa, I think, will be the best one here. Possibly Magneto, close second, but I think Medusa will be an excellent pick when trying to deal with the Scarlet Witch on the other side of the table. Valkyrie, just because she's physical and she has Warrior of Legend, which is really consistent dice modification. So she'll be able to burst her down. Magneto, he's got heaps of throws. He's got a decent physical attack, even though he has to get kind of close for it, but he can push her around with it, so it will remain to be seen what happens there, but I believe that Magneto will be really strong against her, just mainly because it's all red. Everything he sends at her is red, you know, red defense, red dodge dice, you know, it's going to be great. And Thor, being the last one, I think, of the majority of characters, will be a great pick into her. He has multiple throws a turn. He can throw big things into her, and he can throw her into other stuff off his standard attack, and also stagger her, which she's not immune to. So Thor will be an excellent pick there if you want to try and deal with the opposing Scarlet Witch. Synergies, she's in Brotherhood. She's really going to shore up the weaknesses of Brotherhood. We typically have seen Brotherhood to be a faction that only has physical red attacks. So bringing in Scarlet Witch is going to be huge because they now have access to Mystic. Still energy light, but that doesn't matter. Mystic and physical are probably the two ones you want to go for anyway, most of the time. So you'd be pretty happy if you're a Brotherhood like a Brotherhood player here. You'd be happy to see Scarlet Witch coming in there. Wakanda, I think she'll be exceptional in. You bring in Wakanda rerolls, you bring in Shuri rerolls, you're bringing in Okoye for bodyguard. It's going to be great. The only downside is she has no movement shenanigans, so she has to kind of move it and do it all herself. But should be strong. Her attack is just going to be an absolute, just nuclear-tipped blast when in Wakanda with the amount of rerolls she's going to have. She's just going to be deleting characters on the other side of the table, so definitely one to watch out for there. The first thing that happened when she was released was Travis rang me and said she's going straight in my Wakanda because she is just going to be blitzing stuff. And she's a little bit, I think she does stuff differently to MODOK. She's going to bring in those conditions which will help Wakanda with their control. Lastly, we've got the X-Men, specifically under Storm's leadership. Storm's leadership allows her to be teleported, same as Medusa. She'll actually synergize well with Medusa as well because of that. So you can kind of ferry her around the table. She'll actually be decent in Cabal for that matter because of Red Skull. So you can kind of ferry her around the table, so therefore she can get more double attacks, which means she can daze more characters, bring you closer to winning. So that's basically it. She'll help X-Men out a lot as well because currently they're kind of stuck with Corvus Glaive as their carry. Otherwise, I find X-Men runs out of gas in turn 5 and 6, and if you're going for these longer games and run out of gas in 5 and 6, you're generally losing on 5 and 6, which is not fun. I've got a lot of videos up on X-Men. If you want to go rewatch them, you'll see it. It's always last turn, second last turn, I just completely run out of gas because I don't have Corvus, and it all goes bad. So it brings in another carry option for them, which is exciting if you're an X-Men player. Special mentions, we have She-Hulk and Hulk. I'm just going to put these two together. Both physical monsters, massive attacks, all red. It's going to be great against her, except Scarlet Witch is going to imply mass amounts of conditions, and some of them you won't even be able to shake off if you're near her. Both of these characters don't have a injured side, which means they don't get an opportunity to just remove all conditions and go again. So Scarlet Witch could be, with priority, could be particularly crushing when it comes to She-Hulk in particular. Especially if you can get that Hex on there really quickly and then go for a Incinerate so that the rest of the people can then start laying in damage to her. You'd be worried if you saw a Scarlet Witch and you're an A-Force player, to be honest. That's what I see there, especially if you see a Scarlet Witch with like an all you've got. I would expect to see Scarlet Witch finish that all you've got activation with all 4 conditions on She-Hulk, and she's protected from the slapback because she's got a Daze token. Just bring in somebody, field dressing her. There's no downside, and most of the time I think you'll see that She-Hulk is removed from the table. And lastly, Thanos. Same as X-Men. He can ferry her around the table. I think she's got a really great fit in Black Order. I'll actually throw that in there, to be honest. Where are you? Black Order. I'll actually throw Black Order in there because she's very damage orientated. She doesn't have any enemy repositions, so like a lot of her control will be removing pieces off the board. So Black Order should be a great fit. I think she's way better than Ebony Maw, so bring her in the Ebony Maw slot. Thanos can teleport her around the table. It's a win-win, right? Win for everybody. She'll only get brought in for high point games, but I mean, if you see Thanos, Corvus, Proxima, Scarlet Witch, you'd be concerned, right? So yeah, without further ado, that is our first character review we've come back on. Thanks for having me back, and yeah, we'll see you for the next one. If you want to support me, guys, I've linked my Patreon in the description. It'd be unbelievable. All the proceeds go to building up stream, upgrades, getting the editing programs, things like that. All cost money, and yeah, sadly, that's the way the world goes. So if you want to support me, I'll greatly appreciate it. There's exclusive content coming for Patreon if you're into it. So yeah, thanks very much. Peace out, guys.